The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee facing new pressure to recuse himself from the probe into Russia's election meddling as President Trump attempts to shift the panel's focus to the Clintons. More on that in just a moment. Democrats are calling for Devin Nunes to remove himself from the Russia investigation following news that he reviewed intelligence material on the Trump team on White House grounds and then went back to speak about it to the president. Fellow committee member Jackie Speier goes even further. She thinks that he should step down as chairman.
If you become a White House whisperer, you are not being independent. And I think he has tainted the committee. I'm asking for him to step down in the interest of what we all care about, which is the integrity of our intelligence community.
Meanwhile, Nunes maintains that he has done nothing wrong.
Why not recuse yourself from this investigation?
I still don't know why. If you guys give me a reason to recuse myself, I might consider it.
Your critics say you're just too close to the Trump administration to lead this investigation.
Yeah, I don't know that they've actually said that. But
and will you share your source, reveal your source to the committee?
We will never reveal sources.
But you're confident you can still credibly lead this investigation?
Yeah, this is look, this is politics. I understand that, and people have to play the different sides that they want to play, but which is okay. I'm used to it.
The chairman says he won't recuse himself from the Russia probe, and Speaker Ryan doesn't think he should either. Here's the White House reaction today.
It's not up to me. He's a member of the House. He's appointed by the Speaker. I do think that he is running an investigation, which we asked for. There's somewhat of a double standard when it comes to classified information. You all report on stuff with sources that are illegally leaking classified information. That's appropriate and fine. No one questions that, the substance of the material. When two individuals or however many are engaged in this process have a discussion that is 100% legal and appropriate and cleared, suddenly the obsession becomes about the process and not the substance.
All right, so Kennedy, I was away for one day, and this story grew more legs. I don't know what to do here. It just keeps going, and I feel like the White House, they want to get away from it, and then the president tweets about it, and we actually have his tweet here where he said about the Clintons, and why isn't there an investigation into the Clintons and any money that they would have taken from Russia? So it's trying to do well, what about them?
Okay, you're absolutely right, because a spider's only supposed to have 8 legs, and this one has turned into a centipede. But the thing is, just because you sprout some new limbs doesn't give you reason to amputate all the others. And, you know, there may be reason to look at the Clintons, absolutely. And I think the president's right when he talks about those curious Bill Clinton speaking fees from the Russian bank that had a very interesting timing with the uranium deal that Hillary Clinton rubber-stamped when she was Secretary of State. But having said that, Devin Nunes has, I think, done a really bad job of explaining himself, and he has allowed the story to consume him. And as you know, having been in a post where you really have to control a large part of the message, he's let the message get away from him, and that allows for more suspicion. And I think, you know, there are some important questions that are not being asked by either party, and that is, were civil liberties violated? Was the law violated in the gathering of intelligence that was either untoward or illegal? And I think that's a question we deserve an answer to, and we're looking in the wrong places.
Well, there's really 3 pieces of the investigation, Eric. There's the meddling from Russia into the U.S. election. There's the allegations of collusion and an investigation about the Trump campaign and people from Russia. And then there's the unmasking and the leaking issue. So there are actually 3 issues. Where do you think this goes from here? Because there was going to be a hearing, then there wasn't going to be a hearing. Then there's questions about whether Sally Yates, the former Deputy Attorney General who was fired by President Trump, was going to be allowed to testify. The White House disputes a Washington Post report. And I'm just trying to figure out, where do we go tomorrow?
It's been a flurry of news going back and forth. But again, here we're talking about whether or not Devin Nunes is capable of presiding over a committee investigation, and I think he is. You may not like him. You may not like the fact that he met his source at the White House, but the bottom line is we're going to see most of that. We're going to see the testimony by most of these people. Some of it happens behind closed doors, but it's not just Nunes deposing various people. There's bipartisan representation in these things. I think he is capable of doing it, but the more controversy, the more questions surrounding why did he get out of a cab? I think you're right. You're pushing the Democrats to give you a reason to say, hey, independent counsel, when you really don't need it, because it's all going to come out when we watch all the testimony. Yates claimed, or someone claimed that she wasn't allowed to testify. And then they produced, I think, or John Roberts produced a letter that was sent to Yates, and the lawyer responding back saying that she was in fact notified of this testimony. And I think also there was supposed to be some testimony yesterday that got pushed off so that Comey and Rogers could testify. They said they weren't going to show up, so that all got delayed. And I think in the confusion, you're right. It's time. Let's just have this hearing. Let's just get these people on the Hill.
Well, right. And the other question is, if Representative Nunes needed to go to the White House to meet somebody, why doesn't that somebody that's working in the White House call the White House counsel's office or the president and say, I have something I really feel I need to show you? Because then the next day, Nunes goes back to the White House, and then after he tells the press about it, not telling his colleagues on the committee, and briefs the president on what he heard. What do you make of that?
I kind of lost what you were saying there for a minute.
I've followed it perfectly well.
I didn't know. It stinks to high heaven, Dana. This conspiracy stinks to high heaven. Who supplied Nunes with the intelligence? Ted Cruz's dad. As a way to deflect the media from Pizzagate, which is actually harboring President Obama's long-form birth certificate. It's all comes around. Here's the deal. He's guilty. Nunes is guilty of premature accusation.
Oh, dear.
He should have waited. He should have waited a while before he actually had the information. If he held back, we wouldn't have had this problem. And now everybody's running around, and we don't know a lot of the answers.
No.
So we're spending all this time speculating. Meanwhile, to me, I go back to watching the media. It's amazing how they're tearing into this story like a pit bull. You know, there's salivating because there's chum in the water. But where were they? Again, where were they when you talk about the IRS or the DOJ or Benghazi? This is why people hate the media, because they're selectively investigating. They're selectively being Woodward and Bernstein. They're now hot on a story because they don't like the president, whereas there were a lot of really great stories that went on in the last 8 years that weren't covered. Lastly, I want to point out that there's both sides are guilty, I think, of this. When the Democrats say Russian collusion, the Republicans say, where's the evidence? When the Republicans say deep state mutiny and illegal leaks, the libs say, where's the evidence? It's like when you play rock, paper, scissors, and everybody keeps going this. It's like it just keeps going on, so just have the investigation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, paper.
Yeah.
Paper covers rock. Bob, do you think that the Democrats really want this to go to an independent counsel or special prosecutor? Because, as you know, as soon as that happens, everything goes very quiet.
Yeah,
and then President Trump would be able to drive more on his agenda and not have to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about that. By the way, I think that since he wants to blame the Kennedys, I think we should go back and investigate why there were not more Secret Service at Lincoln's assassination. It's very important. Look, the fact of the matter is that Nunes went way out of line. Nobody, but nobody would not at least tell their co-chairman what's going on. The other thing that Spicer said, in his inimitable way of screwing everything up, he said, and it was cleared. He said it was cleared. The last thing he said, it was legal, it was something, and it was cleared. Which means somebody cleared this guy in, called his
well, you
cab.
can't get into the White House without getting it.
Yeah, but somebody cleared him in at that hour of the night when he's coming off of a cab, coming in there and then going to supposedly some secret room, and then trotting in behind his master and telling him what he's got on. Excuse me, can I finish?
But you're right about the first part, but then you make this leap that no one knows and will only come out in a testimony under oath.
Okay.
You said you're right. Yes, he needs to be cleared to get in.
Okay.
That doesn't mean he met with the person who cleared him.
Okay, excuse. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I finish?
Please.
Please. Thank you very much. Now I forgot what I was going to say. No. The fact of the matter is that this has now everybody can agree on was a result of the taping or intercepts of 2 foreign nationals. And people got caught up in that. Anybody within a half-mile range of an intercept is going to get caught up in it. Thousands of people get caught up in it. Now, the only question is, why were they named? Now, that, I think, is a legitimate question that ought to be answered. But Nunes not only should drop out of being a committee member, he ought to get out of Congress and get himself a good criminal lawyer.
So all you do is you take someone chatty. You know, someone like Sergei Kislyak, who's like the uncool guy trying to get into Studio 54.
The ambassador.
He's the Russian ambassador who is.
He got killed in Studio 54, you know. He did. He was given a
and reanimated by Vladimir Putin's
it was the Trump administration
can.
did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow.
But and you can't, you can't say, oh, by the way, they may have named those guys. The illegally unmasking Americans, names could be like very, very serious crimes.
It could be.
Very serious
That's,
crimes.
Well, but the other thing that
Up to 10 Americans in the
up
first
to 10
place.
years imprisonment for doing that if they did it illegally.
yeah, and you're exactly right. But the question is it illegal if you're doing a sidebar investigation on Russia?
No.
That the name comes up, that you could turn it over to the people?
Once you unmask them, though, that's the illegal act right there.
Well, one of the
President
things that
Obama
the
made that a lot
one of the things that chairman said is that some of them, the names weren't unmasked, but that he could tell who it was because he worked on the transition. And
Well,
he
yeah,
knows
because
these
he's
people.
a
That
puppy
doesn't-
dog
I don't think that's the same
for
thing as
Bulldog
unmasked.
Trump.
I mean, it might be sloppy in terms of the hiding of the names, but what do you
No,
think?
that's like someone who's an Angela Lansbury fan watching Murder, She Wrote and figuring out the ending of the show in the first 7 minutes.
You too.
Did that annoy you?
Yes.
You're so good. You were so good at it.
I say this once a week. I'll say it again. The big winner is always going to be Putin. The longer this circus goes on, the harder the shirtless man on a lion laughs. And then he's a global stink bomb. And right now he's in his underwater fortress rubbing his hands.
Oh, right now he has sending troops
Greg,
into Libya.
Greg, you mentioned the IRS investigation or something along this line.
Yes.
This allegation, if it's true, that Putin and the Russians somehow got WikiLeaks to get this stuff out, is the worst single atrocious thing another country could do to another. It's worse than war. And,
Okay,
and we'll unmask Putin for what he is. He's a thug, he's an autocrat, and he ought to be gone, too.
But Dick Cheney
Too bad I
said-
don't believe in capital punishment.
I can't believe you're agreeing with Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney said that this is an act of war.
It certainly is.
I mean,
it certainly
It technically is.
Yeah.
Again, you have, factions within the Republican
If
Party.
you have
those who
people
are-
around Putin who contacted WikiLeaks and said, leak that stuff, it's an act of war, and it also will ruin Trump, and it should.
Well, okay. It could be, as Trump says, a hoax designed as payback for the Democrats' humiliating loss. Or it could be a massive scandal, like Bill's saying, an act of war by Russia to destroy a very republic. Or it could be a bit of both, which is the answer. C, it's a bit of both. It's never one extreme or the other. It's somewhere in the middle.
And can we also point out it's been going on for decades upon decades. The Russians trying to influence and hack into our elections. However, per the intel community saying, yes, they've tried, but yes, they've been doing it for decades, and no, it had no effect on the outcome of the election.
They said that they have been always, sure they're intercepting us, we're intercepting them, but they've never tried to use a third party to discourage people from voting for another person.
How did they do that? With fake news?
With the WikiLeaks letting all those emails
Yeah, but
go.
what about the emails that we got from the State Department?
Which ones?
Because of the Hillary Clinton investigation.
What about
her
it?
server investigation. I mean, are you saying that the Podesta emails were somehow more damning than the emails from
absolutely.
I disagree, and I don't think you
The
can
risotto
completely...
recipe was bad.
It was awful. I tried to make it. Porcini mushrooms do not hold up with heavy cream. Just saying.
And my new rule is no one that works in news should ever say, whoa, if true. Just don't do it ever again.